Hi, this is Tutor Nick P, and this is Proverbs 170. The proverb today is, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend." Okay, let's take a look at the note here. The ancient proverb basically means that it may be a good idea. Two separate groups could or should unify against a common enemy. Even if the two groups are not exactly friends or may still not agree on a number of things, sometimes they will unify against a common enemy to fight that together. So the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Okay, let's continue. The origin, or at least the earliest citing of this proverb, comes from a Sanskrit treatise, a treaty between, two different groups. The Arthashtra, Book 6, I guess. This dates back to the 4th century BC. So this goes back a long way. The origin of this proverb is, about 2,500 years ago, at least something like that. Anyway, let's continue here. We do have 3 examples. Let's look at example number 1. Even though the UK and the US were wary, they wanted to be careful of Stalin, they joined forces during World War II against the Nazis. Many newspapers explain the idea behind this as the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Yeah, remember Stalin, he's still under Soviet rule. Stalin was very strong Soviet, actually almost really kind of communist leading. But yet, since they were fighting the same enemy, they were fighting the Nazis, they joined together. So a lot of newspapers kind of wrote articles, kind of used this phrase way back in World War II. All right, here's another example. During the Cold War, the Soviets and the Chinese aided North Korea during the Korean War. So this would have been against like the US and the Western Allies, because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So this is another situation where you heard this used a lot. Number 3 here. During the Iran-Iraq War, in the U.S. supported Saddam Hussein. So the U.S. at one time was on Saddam Hussein's side against Iran due to the Iranian Revolution of 1979. Remember, that's when they took over the embassy and they had the American hostages there. So Iran seemed like the real enemy, and then Iraq and Iran started a war, and the U.S. actually supported Iraq at that time, which was with Saddam Hussein. So again, the news media also promoted this alliance as the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So a lot of people do say maybe you should be careful about that, because even in these situations, even though sometimes the enemy of my enemy is my friend, sometimes that friend later on turns out to be your enemy again. Almost in all these 3 cases, that's what ended up kind of happening. So you should be careful. You never know today, somebody who is or would be on your side or your ally, maybe in the far future, they might be your enemy. That's the way the world goes. So you got to be careful. Anyway, though, it's an interesting proverb. Hope you got it. Hope it was clear. Hope it was informative. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.